Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Acomb.
What's going on?
Well, I have to say, I think Julian Raven is a national treasure.
Mm-hmm.
You asked him how much time he put into this.
Right.
And, I'm sure he underestimates how much.
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, just talking with him, off the air and just keeping in touch to see what's going on. It's a different level. It's not passion isn't even the right word, but his heart is in it, and hundreds of hours.
It has to be obsession.
Yeah.
To go that far.
Mm-hmm.
He's obsessed with doing the right thing.
Exactly.
And that, I mean, that not only takes stick-to-itiveness, the old,
right.
but courage, because he's going against institutions that wield such power.
Oh, yeah. You can see it.
And that's a scary thing.
Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on News Talk 1230 and 1450. That's on the AM dial. Now on the FM dial at 106.9. And on the line this morning, giving us an update on the Trump painting, Julian Raven. Thanks for being back on the show.
Hey, good morning, Frank. Thanks for having me back on.
Well, it's good to hear from you. Now, what's new? It's been a little while since we've talked. Obviously, last time we talked, you were in the thick of it, or at least we thought. You may be even more in the thick of it now.
Well, the hard lessons of life, they always come to us. And I think one of the biggest things that we all struggle with, I personally, is being patient. And when you want something and, if you're right and you want justice, the old adage goes that the wheels of justice, grind slow or turn slow, but when they grind fine.
You're right. And when you have so much hatred, when you paint your opposition, or not even opposition, just people that disagree with you as evil, Nazis, demonic, as you said with some of these paintings, there's no wonder why somebody loses it, why somebody snaps. I mean, they think that they're doing something against evil, and it's wrong. And there's so much of it in the art world. There's so much in Hollywood and in the media that it's sad when you saw so many people saw something like this coming.
Absolutely, and when we were at that political pundit night, whenever it was at the beginning of the year, that the same culprit, they permitted those professors to get up there with their bitter, vitriolic hatred spewing against Trump, and it's like this is the same thing. I said we need to get back to a place where we passionately disagree, we passionately debate. And when I got up and I said that, I said we should be able to debate passionately, disagree passionately. Mm-hmm. But then, go down to the pub afterwards and say, hey, let's put that aside. We're Americans. We're Americans. God, we're all Americans. That's what counts at the end of the day. We have different ideas. The genius of this country is that we can run with our ideas, but we've got to cut the hate. The hate is just destructive.
And one thing that I was excited about that I saw yesterday, correct me if I'm wrong, but in Donald Trump's office now, his campaign headquarters, there is a scaled-down version of the painting, right?
Correct. In the campaign headquarters, it's hanging there in New York City.
Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on News Talk 1230 and 1450. That's on the AM dial. On the FM dial at 106.9. On the line this morning, our old friend Julian Raven. Julian, we haven't talked since Election Day. Congratulations.
Well, congratulations to you, Frank. This is a team effort, It's like I didn't, people would say congratulations to me as if I won something. But I don't know what I did. I just did what I thought was the right thing, So, but thank you for your kind words, and it is great to be, an American.
Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on News Talk 1230 and 1450. That's on the AM dial, 106.9 on the FM dial. And joining me on the line this morning, we have Julian Raven. Good morning, Julian.
Good morning, Frank. How are you?
Good. I love when I know that I'm getting an update on your court case. I look forward to it all morning. When I know that I'm going to receive a phone call, you're going to stop in. I know something big's happening.
Well, thank you for having me on once again, Frank. I really appreciate it. It really is a blessing each time.
Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on News Talk 1230 and 1450. That's on the AM dial, 106.9 on the FM dial. And this is a real pleasure. Someone that we've talked to numerous times. I'm so glad to have him back in the studio. Julian Raven, welcome back.
Hey, good morning, Frank. How are you?
I feel kind of a little bit like Rush Limbaugh with a camera on me. And now people are, why, this is new to me.
Well, it's good. It could be a good thing to do. Facebook Live is it's a great free
Yeah.
way to get your word out,
And everybody can tune in if, obviously, I want you to stay right here on the radio, but you can tell your friends to tune in on Facebook. Julian, before we start talking about the case that we've, discussed for so long now, let's talk for a moment about the big news of the day, which, of course, NFL players deciding they're going to take a knee or maybe not even go out of the locker room for the national anthem. And I know you have a very strong opinion on this.
Well, obviously, I mean, listen, as a newborn citizen,
Right.
When my approach when I had to. Maybe just say, can you get the volume up in the headset?
Sure. It's right there on the side there, Julian. I'm sorry about that. There's a little knob underneath the counter where it's plugged in.
There you go.
There we go.
Thank you.
Yes, no problem.
You pledge allegiance. I mean, when you become a citizen, you renounce any allegiance to foreign governments. You renounce your allegiance to kings. I was a British citizen.
Right.
I was a subject of the Queen of England, the crown of England. So when you become a citizen, you renounce that. And then the first part of the sort of the ceremony is that you then you swear the oath before you pledge allegiance to the flag. And that oath is such a deep and profound set of words, and it commits you to a certain set of values as an American citizen. If you're going to be an American citizen, this is what you're going to do.
Right.
And you're going to defend the laws and the Constitution. I mean, you're called to an active role as a citizen. And my life was something inside me switched on when I did that, because I take my oaths very seriously. I try not to take too many of them. My oath to God and my wife and my country.
Right.
And that's basically what it is. And to see this right now, I mean, thank God we live in a country where we're free, but it's just disrespectful.
Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on News Talk 1230 and 1450 WENY, and now on the FM dial at 106.9. It's our old friend back at it, Julian Raven. Welcome back to the show.
Good morning, Frank. How are you?
Good. I knew you weren't just going to stay home. I knew you weren't done. Tell us about your new plan for Trump 2016.
Well, it's just a funny thing. I mean, I'm the type of person that I read a lot. I try to inform myself, and sometimes I get sort of, I don't know, I end up reading information that really sticks in my mind.
But I've been seeing a lot of people on Facebook talking about your big event tomorrow.
I've been working on a message, because this is very, very, very serious for me right now, and I've titled it The Red Mountain, and I'm going to be, like I said at the beginning when I was invited, laying it all out on the field, because based on what you were just saying, just to continue your thoughts and the state that we're in as a people and as a nation, it has to change. It has to change here in Elmira. It has to change in Chemung County. We cannot just wait and hope that Trump alone is going to fix this. This is our responsibility as the people of this nation. It's our job to do it, to be part of the solution and to be active, and no more accept the mantra that, like in New York State, I hear so much despondence from people like New York and forget it and we can't win. And it's like, that's not the attitude. We can win. We must win. We must do everything in our... Do you think the founders, when they stood in that room signing the Declaration of Independence, do you think that was their attitude, looking at the might of the military power of the United Kingdom, say, oh, we can't win, we can't do this? Some people obviously were like that, but no. They took on the impossible, and they achieved the impossible.
Julian Raven is our guest. This reminds me when you first unveiled the Unafraid and Unashamed painting. I remember it was a rally with Dan Mandel, and I remember that was a message I took away from you, and I'm impressed right from the beginning that you said that Trump's not the cure-all. He's going to be the conduit. He's going to be the beginning. But we have to change by getting Dan Mandel in at that time and doing it at the local level and growing it up. And I thought that was a very good point you've had from the beginning, that we're not like the Democrat Party looking for a Messiah. We're looking for someone that's going to help start the change that we need.
Exactly. And Trump's got a job to do that technically we can't do. He's got to do his job in his sector of the country, in his sector of the field. But my goodness, look at the work we have to do local. Look at the work we have to do educating people about America, teaching people about our values, getting our values back into schools, going to public meetings, making our voice heard, standing up wherever we can stand, and no more accepting this passé attitude that is like throwing your hands up in the air. Oh, there's nothing we can do. I'm going to stay home. And it's like, right. You know what? I can't be like that. Frank, when I swore that oath last September the 17th, when I became a citizen, and they had me swear an oath of allegiance before I pledged allegiance, that was a life-changing event for me, again, to say, I cannot sit idly by. I must be part of the solution. Being an American means to me that you have to be part of the solution.
Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on News Talk 1230 and 1450 WENY. Calling from on the road in Iowa, Julian Raven. Good morning.
Good morning, Frank. How are you?
I'm doing great. I love following your Facebook and keeping updated on you. You're getting interviewed all the time. A lot of excitement around your truck, isn't there?
There is. When we get to move wherever we go, it really is. It's a lot of fun to see the responses that we get, to interact with people like all the time. And we will pull up at a supermarket and we'll just hover right in front of the front door. And slowly but surely people start trickling out to the truck, and we're giving out our postcards and taking photos with them.
Joining me in the studio this morning, we have Julian Raven. Good morning, Julian.
Good morning, Frank, and a Merry Christmas to you.
Merry Christmas to you. How are the roads?
The roads not too bad. Good. Not too bad. Changing lanes a little hairy, but other than that, the snow's quite light, so pretty good.
Well, we talked last week, the 10-year anniversary, and I appreciate, again, you being on the program to celebrate 10 years with me, but we kind of promoted or hinted at some of the new things in your court case. So where are we right now?
Well, it's the story continues, Frank. And I just want to reiterate once again my appreciation for you having me on, because it's always a blessing.
Come on, babe, won't you take a chance? Your papa's gonna show you a brand new dance. And shuffle on down, now don't you be no drag, and do that election year rag.
Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on News Talk 1230 and 1450. That's on the AM dial. On the FM dial 106.9, and we've got one of our good friends on the line, Julian Raven. It's the big day, Julian. How you feeling?
Feeling great, Frank. Good morning. How are you?
Good. It's good to hear from you. I was hoping that you could tell us, and I know most listeners are familiar with you by now, but some who may not be. On the line, calling in live from Cleveland, we have Julian Raven. Good morning.
Good morning, Frank.
How are things at Cleveland? Give us a summary of what happened yesterday.
Oh, I sort of made a little a synopsis like this. It was like walking out of one circus through the security circus into another circus on the street. It was absolute madness yesterday. I've never seen anything like it in my life.
How were all the speeches? I want to ask you about some specific ones, but I mean, were they all? Was it what you expected? I guess. Julian Raven is our guest this morning. Find out more at thetrumppainting.com, thetrumppainting.com. Julian, what was that aha moment? When you're looking, you've had a few throughout this process, but what was the one where you said, this really helps my case, perhaps the most?
Well, imagine this scenario. Imagine this. Tom Brady turns up at the Super Bowl night, and he's trying to go into the Super Bowl, to go to his locker and play, and security stop him at the door, and they say, Mr. Brady, we're sorry, you're not allowed into the Super Bowl. You're not allowed to play today. And he's like, what? He's like, yep, you cannot play in the Super Bowl. We found a Trump hat in your locker, and you are not allowed to play.
Yeah.
And basically they barred him, and the Patriots go on to play, and they go on to win, and they have this historic win, and all this stuff takes place, and yet Tom Brady was excluded from participation in something that he had a right to participate in, right? Imagine that.
Right.
Imagine what the next day would be. What do you think he would do?
Oh my goodness! You could only imagine the press conference, but he would get a lawsuit. He would get a lawsuut for sure. So you did some research about the Smithsonian itself, and I was shocked when you were telling me. So let's get right at the beginning. What did you find?
Well, obviously, as someone I'm a seeker myself, I try to, since I was a little kid, I would always take stuff apart, and I want to see how things work.
How it works. Sure.
I was never very much good back then at putting them back together, but I was great at taking them apart.
Sure.
I was fascinated, curious. I'm a learner, seeker. So I said the Smithsonian, try to understand it. So I went right back to the founding. And what I began to find, Frank, makes this conversation in my opinion, so much bigger and so much more, even more important than my personal issue. We've had in the last week the issue of, Justice Clarence Thomas and his story being rejected or being not, or just being deleted from history. We have the story of E.W. Jackson, the bishop who was on your show the other week, and his petition to have that content or that information of Margaret Sanger removed because of its offensive nature. And they were ignored. They constantly ignored. And so you look at all of these stories, and I kept going back in time, and I came to a conclusion that the issue of the Smithsonian Museum itself is a problem for our government. That, as much as I care about my painting and my personal journey, I now have this burden of being a citizen and being involved in this process and saying, this is injustice. This is wrong. This is wrong. I can't, my mind, the way that I work is that if I learn about something and this, I realize 100% that this is wrong, I cannot sit idly by. I must act. I must be. And so as much as I am personally concerned about my work, it's much bigger now, because it's Justice Clarence Thomas, and it's 15,000 people that I was snubbed, and it's the missionary from 1978, and it's all these people that have been snubbed, and as I say, this is a people's issue, and we as the people in this country, we cannot be silent. We must speak and we must act, and that's what I'm doing. I learned this through the letter written by Martin Luther King Jr. from the Birmingham jail when he was arrested. If you ever want to read an incredible, inspiring document, his letter he wrote. That he said, we have not, they through peaceful protest and through legal action, they said we accomplish our goal, our mission, and legal action is our only recourse. They want me to go away and not. What else? Let them complain, make their phone calls. We'll ignore them and they'll go away. But they won't go away when we call them to law. Right. And that's the only way to do this, and that's why I filed that lawsuit.
Well, Julian, we're just about out of time. So as you mentioned, we the people, how can we the people help? What's the best way to help you in this case?
Well, as a believing person, I ask for people to pray for me, pray for our country, pray for Mr. Trump, President-elect Trump, and his job fixing the economy and secure. I mean, I've said this before, if that's all he has to do, imagine the job he's wading into, the wisdom for him to do that. And then pray for us as a people that we all realize that we all have a responsibility to act. And whether it's picking up the phone and making a phone call, whether it's, like I said, prayerfully supporting, calling your Congress, writing letters. Everybody has an ability to do something and say something and be involved in the solution. And we all have different abilities, skills, and gifts. We got to act accordingly. Be a voice. Don't sit by. It's un-American to be silent. These people want us to be silent. They want to silence us. And I think it's wrong, and I think it's up to us to speak up, and I'm going to stand, and I'm going to make my voice heard, and I'm going to trust the rightness of my intention, as the founders said in the Declaration of Independence. They relied on God to bless them because of the rightness of their intention. I hope and believe that I have God on my side and that justice will prevail.
Julian Raven has been our guest this morning again. Find out more at thetrumppainting.com. And you can always contact me off the air. We can get you in touch with whoever you want to call, write, whatever the best way for you. As you said, everybody's got special talents and everybody can help in their own way. So contact me or contact Julian at thetrumppainting.com. Julian, thanks so much for coming in the studio. Of course, we wish you best of luck.
Thank you, Frank. Thanks for having me on. Merry Christmas, everyone. Merry Christmas, Frank. God bless you and a wonderful new year. It is a great day to be an American.
It is. Merry Christmas. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking.